used Mr Schwab's credit card.
Wait, poor old Collingwood fans. Well, anyway, Mitch, the reigning Premier, overcame a slow start against the Pies to record their first win at Victoria Park. Collingwood started in magnificent style and held a 26-point lead at quarter time. But the Eagles plugged away, kicking 12 goals to 5 after the first change to win by 23 points. Drew Morfitt with highlights.
Befitting teams third and fourth, with so much at stake, it was a tough opening. The first goal came after 14 minutes, a good start for the Eagles. Brown started with an injury doubt and was off after 20 minutes. But the Pies surged with 5 goals in 9 minutes, McGuan shrugging off his injury. And Starcevic and Rocker taking big marks on the forward line. Collingwood by 26 points at quarter time, but Sumic led an Eagle revival in the second. He marked well and kicked a special banana goal.
Oh, it's not bad, it's good. It's a goal.
Sumic kicked 3 for the quarter and Worsfold kicked his first for the season. The Eagles within 11 at half-time.
The skipper set sail for home.
Sumic gave Gary Pert a hiding and finished with 6.
And he kicks a goal.
As the Magpies forward line dried up, the Premiers forged on.
This could give the Eagles the lead and he's done it.
They were never headed again. The Pies kicked only 2 goals after half-time.
In towards Rocker.
Victoria Park is perhaps no longer hostile territory. 3 visitors have won there this year. The Eagles for the first time ever. Drew Morfitt, 7 Nightly News.
Western Suburbs hero Doug Hawkins celebrated his 300th game in style when the Bulldogs beat the Bears by 28 points. At half-time, the match was in the balance, but the Bulldogs did it for the Hawk. Royal kick 5 for the winners.
Doug Hawkins has burst through plenty of packs in his long career. Running through the banner today proved more of a challenge. But he didn't let his side down, winning the toss and plenty of possessions. Brisbane weren't overawed by the Hawkins show. They tackled strongly to keep Footscray off balance. But the Doggies handled the gusty conditions with style and were dominant in the air. The Bears clawed their way back late in the half, but still trailed by 14 points at the long break. Footscray were even more committed in the third term and continued to mark brilliantly. The Scraggers ran strongly across half-forward, Beveridge gold on the run to put them further ahead. The Bears fought back in the final quarter, kicking 6 goals to 4, but it wasn't enough. The Doggies had done it for Dougie and prevailed by 28 points.
Well done, the Hawks. And Kilda's finals hopes continue to flicker tonight after a solid win against Fitzroy at Waverley Park. The Saints trailed at half-time, but 8 goals 2-1 behind in the third term laid the foundation for a 33-point victory. Lockett kicked 8 for the victors.
The Lions got off to a flying start. 50 seconds in, McCarthy to Harding for their first goal. But the Saints kicked the next 3. Dean Gregsnap had the Saints in control by 13 points. The Roys through McCarthy narrowed the gap to 7 points at quarter time. Lockett kicked his second and the Saints were looking dangerous, but Fitzroy hit back, booting 3 goals in even time just before half-time to lead by a goal at the break. But it was all St Kilda in the second half. They were more aggressive and took control. Plugger kicked 2 more as he headed for 8. Stewie Lowe took the mark of the day and his subsequent goal on the 3/4 time siren gave the Saints a 43-point lead. The Roys outscored their opponents in the final term, but it was to no avail. The Saints winning by 33 points.
And at Princes Park, a sensational second half by the Bombers enabled them to thrash Richmond by 13 goals. Scores were level at half-time, but 15 goals to 3 after the interval set up the Bombers' 7th win of the season. Bradley Plain kicked 5 goals for the winners, while Tigers skipper Jeff Hogg finished with 6.
For the first time since 1943, Princes Park was the venue for a Bombers-Tigers clash, and Tim Watson provided Essendon with the perfect start.
And gets it.
Essendon's forward line was proving more than a handful for the Tigers, and from 50 metres, Kickett let rip.
Massive towering kick.
Richmond didn't kick its first until just before the first change, Jeff Hogg cutting the Bombers' lead to 15 points. But whatever coach John Northey said at quarter-time worked wonders. As the Tigers stormed back, Hogg kicked his side's opening 4 goals and then put Richmond ahead. A magnificent second term, and Grenvold levelled the score minutes from half-time.
Yes, goes at goal and kicks a full-pointer.
It was set for an exciting second half, but someone forgot to tell Richmond. Essendon took complete control of the third term, and Kickett was at his freakish best.
Snapshot. Oh, what a beauty!
Bradley Play made up for a disappointing start to the game with 3 goals in the quarter, and the Bombers bolted to a 6-goal lead at the last change. When Watson goaled early in the final quarter, it was all over for the Tigers, and despite a spectacular grab from Hogg, Richmond lacked the spark to make an impression. And a thriller at the MCG last night, with North Melbourne hoping to beat Hawthorn for the first time since 1984. The Roos led at half-time by 20 points, but a stirring third quarter from the Hawks set the scene for a nail-biting final term. The old firm of Platten and Dunstall proving the difference.
Unselfishly, Dunstall, it's hit the post, you wouldn't believe it!
The Hawks spearhead missed with his first attempt in the dying stages. Then, with a minute to go, Dunstall had one final chance to give Hawthorn the lead.
He kicks for goal. Oh, he's a great kick for goal.
A 3-point win, and Dunstall finished with 6.
To the ladder, and North still holds a 1-game lead, but the Eagles and Hawthorn are breathing down the Roos' necks. Essendon, Carlton and Footscray make